Alright, what's going on, people? Ring World Map here, and today we're going to talk about Marlon Tapales versus Naoya Inoue. Probably the biggest fight in the 122-pound division right now, or this year, I should say. This is a fight which I think when I first look at it on paper, I thought it was a clear win for Inoue. But as I studied Marlon Tapales even more, then I started seeing how diverse his style is, how versatile he is, how he can change up his style. So that's gonna be, or that made me think twice about picking Inoue right away. And so I'm gonna break them down today, break down some of the techniques, and then see how it lines up with Naoya. So let's get right into it. So the first thing we're gonna see with Marlon Tapales is that he likes to blade with his high guard. So as you can see here, he likes to tilt his head a little bit to his left side, much like Manny Pacquiao. He doesn't like to stay straight up at the center, which is, you know, it is advantageous in a way, but at the same time, when you are really bladed all the time, your opponent can take advantage of it, especially if you're heavy on the back foot. Your opponent can take advantage of that bladed position, and they can throw you away, or they can affect your balance in a way. And that's the same thing that we see with Pacquiao a lot of times. With Pacquiao, he has this bladed stance from the high guard position, and he gets into a lot of off-balance positions because of it, right? So let's see another one here. So as you can see again, whenever he does that high guard, he doesn't like to stay at the center. He likes to lean over on his left side, and if you hit him with the left hook, or if you hit him with a jab, then he will have the tendency to be off balance. That's just how it works, right? That's the same thing that happens to Pac. I'm not saying that, you know, that's necessarily a bad thing, because again, if you keep your head away from the center, then you are less prone to get hit with straight punches. But at the same time, it can cause you to fight afraid, and it can cause you to be too heavy on that back foot. So as you can see here again, he does regain his weight on the front foot afterwards, but as you can see there, every time his opponent threw a straight right, he would lean back and he would lull, or he would bait his opponent to throw something so that he can load up for that left hand, right? Which becomes predictable after a while. And after a while, your opponent can just stick out, or they can just throw a pot shot at you, and they already know what counter you're going to throw. So that can get predictable, like I said. So the next thing we're going to look at is that lead left setup, much like what we see with Hiroto Kyoguchi. What we see with Hiroto Kyoguchi is he likes to throw some left hands or some rear punches that are not really powerful, right? It's not really powerful, but it's just meant to distract you from his actual power punch, which is going to be either a left uppercut or a left hook, or on the side of Marlon, it's going to be the right hook or the right uppercut. Okay, so we're going to see that right here. So he's going to use that lead left to set up the right uppercut. As you can see, I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the terms because I'm used to studying orthodox fighters. So again, he's going to use that left hand to set up and load up for that right hook. Boom. He didn't even try to land that left hand. He just used that to load up on the front leg and then load up on that right hook. Okay. And again, if you do that too much, you're going to be leaning forward. You're going to end up leaning forward a lot of times, and you can get up you can end up getting caught with one of those check hooks from Naoya Inoue. Okay. So the next thing we're going to look at is the dip and throw. What we're going to see here is that he just baits you to come forward, and then he's going to dip down slightly for that left uppercut counter. Okay, boom, right there. And then again, he dips. Every time he dips, he follows it up with a shot. So as you can see there, after he threw the left hand, okay, he's going to throw the left uppercut here. He's going to throw that left hand, he's going to try to dip down, he's going to try to smother you on your elbow, and then from there, he'd usually follow it up, but he doesn't really follow it up in that particular example, or he didn't really follow it up in that example. So let's see another dip and throw here. He's going to throw a 1-2, he's going to dip on that lead shoulder of his opponent, and then he's going to try to load up for that right hook. And that split second of you gaining some power on that front leg, because Marlon is more of a neutral fighter in terms of where he puts his weight, right? He doesn't really go heavily on the front foot too much. He doesn't really go too heavy on the back foot too much. And so whenever he wants to gain some momentum from his front leg, he likes to do that dip a lot. So he'd either dip on the lead side of his opponent or on the rear side. And what he'd do there is what he'll do from there is that's when he will throw his power punches, right? He'll set up his power punches from there. But again, it's much slower. If he just did the 1, 2, 3 right away, it would be much quicker, and he can get off those punches much quicker. But again, he always loads up on those lead punches. He always tries to load up on that lead uppercut and on that lead right hook. So that's gonna be something that we should be wary of. You know, is the speed gonna be enough when he throws that dipping? When he dips and then he punches, will Naoya read it? Will Naoya counter it? Because again, if you're facing a Thai fighter like Panya Utok, then it's much easier. But if you're facing a guy who knows how to step back well, you're not going to be able to do those punch and smothers, those punch and dip, those dip and punch kind of movements. And it's going to be much slower because you're going to have to lean overly forward in order to set up those power shots from your lead side, right? So the next thing we're going to look at is going to be the tapping baits. So basically what he does here, he just throws some tapping shots, some tapping jabs, trying to draw a reaction from his opponent right here. As you can see, he's leaning overly heavy on that front leg. And then when his opponent came in, he'd either throw like a short counter as they come in, or he'll just smother them like he did there, okay? Let's see another example here. So again, he'll just do these tapping baits, and then he'll allow his opponent to come in. He's a little bit tired here too, you know, as you can see. Again, he's just baiting his opponent on the back foot. He's just tapping him, and then as soon as he comes in, he throws that check hook, that Soviet-style check hook, which I like to see from him. You know, not a lot of Pinoys throw the Soviet check hook. And then there he threw a rear uppercut, or a rear hook, rear uppercut, and then another rear hook to the head, okay? So those are the tapping baits, which can help him in his fight, but at the same time, again, it can be countered. It can be countered. In my opinion, how do I want him to fight? I think he can fight both ways. Okay, if you watch Tapales enough, he can fight offensive and he can fight defensive. I don't want to see the Tapales that fought Akhmadaliev, to be honest. The overly cautious Tapales, we've already seen how that worked against Fulton. When Fulton fought in a way like that, when Fulton fought defensively, overly defensively, we already know how that ended. Eventually, Naoya was able to read his patterns, and he was able to set up that jab to the body to a right cross to the head, which knocked him down. And I think that's going to be the same thing here. If Tapales does not make Inoue respect his power early, then Inoue will eventually read his patterns and then set him up with a big shot, okay? So let's see the right hook counter now from Tapales. So again, he starts off right here on the back foot, leaning back, okay, which, to be honest with you guys, yes, I do think that he can fight on the back foot. Do I think it's a good option against a guy like Naoya? I don't think so, because Naoya's already seen this shit, okay? So here again, one, he's gonna probe, and then he throws, or a right hand counter on the side of Panya Utok, actually. Yeah, I fucking misread that. So as you can see, because of that bladed stance that he has on the southpaw stance, he is on the path for that straight right hand, okay? And he doesn't really step back a lot. He doesn't really slip those punches well. So he likes to rely a lot on his upper body movement, which as you can see is not really enough, because a lot of those right hands by the Thai still got through, okay? It was still able to land. So if he does this against Inoue, he's gonna be in big danger. So one thing that he can do here during his camp is he can definitely work on that step back game. Although I know he knows how to step back, alright? Don't get me wrong here. I know he knows how to step back, but it's just too often when we're in the heat of the moment, we forget some of the basic footwork fundamentals that we should do, right? And that's why we see a lot of these fighters rely on their upper body movement instead. So let's see another one here. Another right hand counter from the Thai. So here, bam, again, because of that bladed stance, his head is on the path of that right hand. He doesn't know how to step back. His high guard is good whenever he is not bladed on the back foot, okay? Whenever he's frontal, whenever he's leaning forward, yes, his high guard is good. I'm not gonna take that away from him. But whenever he's bladed, that guard is easily breakable. And so again, that's a dangerous move to do against Inoue. You can't be staying on the back foot too much, because a lot of those punches of Inoue, he knows how to place it in a way where even if you are leaning on the back foot, it's still gonna reach you, it's still gonna land, okay? And especially now that this is a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, that lead hook will be much easier to land, okay? The right side of Tapales will be much closer to Inoue as well. So another thing that we'll see from Tapales is going to be the blind lead side. So as you can see here, he tends to be blind on that lead side, and so again, he tends to get hit with either jabs or with right hands, because he tends to blade a lot on that side. He doesn't really see well from that angle. Now you can try this out by tilting your head right now and tell me what you see with your fucking right eye. So try to tilt your head or try to turn your head to the left and then tell me if you can see well with your right eye. Most likely you are not. And that's the same thing if you're blading as a boxer, okay? You can't really see well from this position. You can't really see well if your head is turned all the way there. Okay, so again, if you're trying to beat your opponent, that's good. But I don't think it's a good option against Inoue. Against Inoue, it should be a mix of offense and defense. You have to make him respect you enough, but you can't be too careless to the point where he can hit you a lot with some clean shots, okay? So lastly, we're going to look at the off-angle lead hook. The reason why he likes to throw, or one of the reasons why he likes to blade a lot and he likes to put his head in that bladed position is because that allows him to make his right hook more deceptive. And I actually see the same move a lot in Mike Plania. If you guys have seen the Filipino fighter Mike Plania, he likes to do this shit a lot too, although he does it from the hands down position. They like to throw their right hook or their left hook from an angle that is quite unpredictable. So as you can see, he doesn't get a lot of hip rotation from that position, right? So what does he do? He makes up for it by using as much shoulder momentum as he can, right? Turning his shoulder right there, and then turning his hip slightly, but not too much, because it's bladed. And that's how he gets that power right there. He gets it all from the legs, he gets it from the shoulders. So as you can see here, he's gonna blade down. He's not gonna be able to rotate his right hook all the way, but right there he was able to do that because he was able to set it up with a left hand. And then here, because his opponent is trying to watch out for that right hook, now his head is on the path for the left hand of Tapales, you know. So here once again, you're gonna see him blade, but then instead of blading, he quickly transitions right there on the front foot. This is very deceptive, right? He went from back foot to front foot right here very quickly, and then he throws that right hook. Again, not a lot of hips behind it, not a lot of weight behind it, but it's strong enough to make his opponent respect him, and that's all that matters, you know. You don't want to throw arm punches that don't hurt, but you also don't want to throw careless 100% power punches to the point where you'll get tired quickly. So that was it, my prediction for this fight, to be honest. I think Tapales will make it a much closer fight than what people think, simply because of how he can change his style, how he can turn from offensive to defensive. But again, we can say the same thing about all of Naoya's opponents, right? But when they step in the ring against Inoue, they started fighting afraid, right? We said the same thing about a lot of his other opponents in the past. He can go offensive, he can go defensive, he can box, he can brawl. But what happened? As soon as they stepped up in there against Naoya Inoue, they fought afraid. Okay, and I'd hate to see that, to be honest. I'd hate to see that with Tapales. So hopefully he can bring out his A game and he can make it competitive. But right now, I am leaning towards Naoya Inoue via knockout around round 9 to 12. So that was it. I'll see you guys soon. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, I hope all the best for Tapales, but I just cannot. I just think Naoya's seen it all, man. I think Naoya's seen it all, and nobody really beats him at 122 at the moment.